What's up, guys? Zenara here, and today I'm going to be talking about my concerns with Cardfight Vanguard currently. It's some of the issues that a lot of people in the community has been noticing, so I wanted to kind of get this out there. I guess this is sort of a rant, but I'm not going to be like really yelling or swearing or anything. Just more so, what I believe is some of the current issues that others and me myself have experienced, just not from like this month specifically, just throughout the last couple of months, ever since probably the beginning of this year. So one of the issues that I've been recognizing is Bushroad's intended design versus unintended results and unintended design. So there was cars that they designed that was intended to work a specific way but had unintended results. So Riviera, she was intended to be ridden multiple times, but the unintended result was she was played a lot because she was strong. Not only that, it's Bermuda, so it had a high play rate. It's Shiryuki. I believe she was intended to be this defensive card and also like sort of a game closer or game closer enabler. Um, but because of how strong she was in standard, it made her way more playable and more versatile for Morikumo. So it allowed Hyuga to have this great massive defensive power, and not just that, it's for all of Morikumo. It's same what Different Fight said that she could be a problem in the future, which ended up happening because she's on one. The card is still played in Yasue, but it's only a one of. You have the ability to search it out, so that's good, but still, because of the unintended results that Shiryuki had for Morikumo, he got hit. So, an example of like unintended design and unintended results. Um, I believe Anger Blader and Sweeper was unintended design. I believe and unintended results. I believe that they didn't think that the combo of a Sweeper and Anger Blader what creates such a powerful turn 3. Same as like Riviere, as it was a powerful turn 3 if the player had multiple Rivieres. The fact that Sweeper itself got massive power and you couldn't really remove it from the board because you couldn't be targeted from effects. And if your opponent had multiple copies of Sweeper on the board, it was just super easy for the Tachikaze player to just one turn kill you or push you to that breaking point where as the player going second didn't have enough advantage or enough card advantage to beat the Tachikaze player before they just had another turn with Anger Blader. So there's other cards that were like intended for design and but had unintended results, and there's unintended design and unintended results, and this stems from their poorly designed cards that lack of play testing. So we all know about the Luard situation, about how strong Luard was when it dropped um, in the latest booster for in the latest main booster set for Cardfight Vanguard Japanese. Luard was a super powerful deck. It had basically almost everything. It had the Superior Ride, it had Retire, it had Draw Power, it had Cycle, and it had multi attack in the form of Morfessa. Um, I don't want to talk about Luar right now, but the lack of them playtesting the Superior Ride with Drag Driver, because Drag Heart Luard enables you to get Drag Driver, but the fact that the Superior Ride could give you to that crit and soul for Drag Driver make the deck way faster than it's supposed to be. As Yokar said it, even if you're a casual or competitive player, you can read Dry Driver, realize that it was supposed to be a turn 4 card. With Bende and PBD, he was able to get the crit off turn 3 if you got the Superior Ride, which it just made the deck really, really unfair and really unfun to play. I played it a bit and it was just really unfun to play. Now, example of poorly designed cards with the X with the N. And this is before Luard. I'll agree that most people believe that the X had is pretty poorly designed, as in same as Tachikaze. There's hardly any counterplay to the X other than hoping you hit multiple defense triggers, which is uninteractive and not fun. The X can simply ride, go first, put force 2, get the N, and just swing 3 times when your opponents are grade 2, with them having massive power, and if they have Doha and other cards to restrict them from guarding their attacks. It's just a uninteractive combo, and a lot of people don't like these turn 3 plays that just destroy them. And this comes from also lack of playtesting too, since Bushiroad did a major scale ban list for the Excel decks. So it was Morikumo, Tachikaze, and hitting some of Narukami to slow down its power, but then they just create these cards that enable this turn 3 push and damage, which a lot of competitive players and me myself are just tired of these decks that are like going for turn 3 pushes and plays. So another issue that people has been having with Bushiroad is the improper restrictions. So the recent emergency restriction list had Luard in the main choice restricted, but a lot of people do not like the fact that PBD with Bende is still a choice. Now I understand why they restricted the main. The main enabled Dragheart Luard to be able to get advantage, to be able to use the skill basically for no cost, and it enabled the Spear Ride. Hitting the main is understandable, however, it hurt pure Luard, and for players who didn't play the Superior Ride engine, and it's forcing them to play the Superior Ride engine, which the Superior Ride engine itself is already not okay. Sure, Ezreal's is standard, but Ezreal doesn't have massive power. Even on his release in standard, it wasn't that massive of a power boost because it was only a Vanguard only skill. But with Shadow Paladin and Luard, they have Morfessa, they get multiple force markers. Sure, Ezreal got multiple excels and draw, but Luard does that better now. And the fact that you can still just run Luard fine without in the main. You just have to call cards for your hand to pay costs to get advantage now. I understand why they hit the main, but Bende and PBD needed some sort of restriction with Luard. And the reason why hardly anyone got to see how buffed in the main was with Luard is because they will lose to Superior Ride so fast. Because if they open in the main and open Blaster Dark, they would just grab Bende, easy, a Superior Ride, and then they will lose to a Drag Driver with Morfessa and the main just grabbing all the grade 1s. So a lot of people still do not like the fact that you can still Superior Ride and still do the turn 3 play. It's just less consistent. And Bushiroad doesn't seem to have the right concept that instead of hitting the main problem, they just hit the consistency of it, which it just makes the player feel worse if your opponent draws the card that they need to win. So, for example, like with Tachikaze, any Guylith could still run Sweeper and Anger Blader. If they draw their Anger Blader with Sweeper, it's a feel bad moment because it's uninteractive. Your opponent cannot stop it. Another improper restriction was Zanzan, as you can see at the top left. I understand why they restricted to 1, but it's been a couple of months ever since Period Collection. They should just ban them already. There are still some vanilla decks out there. Just Songstar Loot that could still utilize Zanzan. It's even better now since most of the Zanzan decks are dead, other than the ones I could just search it out easily. Zanzan should just be banned at this point. It shouldn't even be a card. It's same as from the last slide. They don't properly test their cards, and it comes out being poorly designed too. Now, another issue that others have been having with the recent sets is unequal power in the same set. So the latest one with Luard, Luard was leaps and bounds from day one, better than all 3 of the decks in that set. I understand Spike Brothers, Mega Colony, and Tachikaze aren't really that popular, but the fact that Luard was even without the Superior Ride, Luard itself in the main was still a play card. The deck was just still superior to them. It's just not equal. In other sets like Silver Dust Blaze, we have Messiah and Kagero. They're just better because of the unequal power in the set. I don't even really remember what was the other clans. Oh, DP was in that set, and OTT. OTT was okay, but they got power as in like you get multiple crits and crit pressure every turn, and DP unfortunately got the bad end of the stick of being one of the worst clans in that set. Gallup itself doesn't really provide that much power for the clan, and the clan needed something. I understand Dylander is a really good card, and they made Blood Black, but they needed a card that like was a powerhouse but not broken to say, or just overpowered. While Messiah in the X, Messiah can get Vocal out, reset Vocal multiple times with Force 2. In the X, like I said before, it's poorly designed, so it was meant to be a turn 3 deck that you just push. Especially if you go first, you had a higher chance of winning. Just check more crits. You could play 16 crit Overlord, just win. Now back to Luar set. Luar just had everything. Even without the Superior Ride engine, it just had mostly everything. Spike Brothers, they could copy the grade 3s. They're pretty good too. Same as Mega Colony. It's just Luar was better. And all the other meta decks, like Night Rose, Sharo, they're just better than what came out in that set. Now Harry is good, and Yasue has been showing results too, so it's not like it was unequal in that sense. More so Night Rose is good because it could do 4 attacks Skull Dragon, which is like, it's possible as a turn 3 play. But it's really a turn 4 play. And Charo is just insane because you could draw 8 cards with Number of Terror from the last set. Again, I think that was unintended results, but still, the fact that Luar was better than them still goes to my point that it wasn't properly tested. And lastly, another issue is the rapid set support and how fast the power creep is. So, with Silver Dust Blaze, at the time it was tier 1. That 2 decks off tier 1. It was the X and Messiah. with sprinkles of maybe Susanoo, other decks too. And then the next set, there's 2 new decks that are just better than it. Now I won't say the set was poorly designed. Silver Dust Blaze was poorly designed. Yasue's fine in design. Night Rose is fine in design. It's just with Sharo and Night Rose, it was just there are cards that make the deck a lot better. And a lot more clear that it's like if they get this combo off, you're not surviving. So Night Rose, if you can get multiple Skull Dragon attacks, your opponent doesn't have enough shield to guard. Sharo, they just draw multiple cards. Since number of Terra is at 4, you can easily get the 13 soul. You just keep doing that every turn while amassing protect gifts in hand. Harry's still a good deck too. It's just not as fast as Sharo and Night Rose, which both in the build hand, they're both protect. And Yasue, it's strong by itself. It's just lacking the power compared to Harry. I say they're about equal, but Harry has a little bit more power. But from the results that we've been seeing, Yasue has been showing more and more results. And I think that's from Shiryuki being such a good card, since I believe most of the lists play one of her. Just being able to fetch her and just use it as like that one pseudo G guard or game closer with restand in columns that hit good numbers is what makes it great. So the fact that it's not only in Japanese that we're getting set by set, there's been a new tier 1 deck and the power creep is increasing so rapidly, from like Butterfly Moonlight to the Loire set with I think it was called Dragon Darkness Aeon or something like that. Loire was just far superior, and that again goes back to the other points of being poorly designed and just improper playtesting. So my final thoughts on all of this, Bushiroad needs to reevaluate their car design, honestly. For me, I think the biggest issue is how are they allowing these cards and interactions to exist and not see them. So there are other things I didn't talk about because I wanted to save it for here. So the thing with George in Standard, that they revealed George and it created this infinite loop on first stride. I understand that it could be a human error if they just didn't put once a turn, but the fact that Nubatama was in the same set and the Mask of Domination goes to the back row center, how come they didn't think maybe, you know, an Aquaforce player or a budget Aquaforce player, I don't know what Maelstrom will do. I mean, not Maelstrom, Lambros will do, but if they play George and they dominate it, do they get infinite attacks and drive? Why didn't they just put once a turn just to be safe with that? They didn't say it on the Tuesday stream, but still, it should have never not had once a turn. And this comes to like them not having a big enough playtesting team. They only have they don't have a lot of people. Even so, there are still some interactions and designs that shouldn't have been made or should have been sought out. Like with Anger Blader and Sweeper, like a lot of Tachikaze players was upset because Anger Blader got hit when Sweeper was the main problem. All they had to do was choice restrict it. Yeah, it would have hurt Tachikaze, but guess what? It wouldn't have killed Anger Blader, and I bet Anger Blader at 4 with the new support with Gaia would have made it probably pretty good. Or at least restrict Sweeper to 1. or something like that. But it shouldn't have been Anger Blader to win. Another issue, well, like another thought is that with how Bushiroad has been handling, basically they've just been handling with how they properly restrict things. Like I know I just said it a couple seconds ago, but back to the Luar and the main thing. I knew Luar was a problem, and it like easiest hit to do was to just restrict PBD. So basically, it forces the Luar player to play pure, which pure would have been good. It would have been good. It probably would have been like Night Rose Sharo tier, especially as Night Rose and Sharo or Protect decks. They can just PG more Festa and stuff like that, and they draw a decent amount of cards. And Ward had to survive another turn, meaning they'll have to play cards and text in order to survive that long. So we probably would have saw the Eagle being played too in Luard. But the fact that they hit in the main and not Luar players, the deck just has the Superior Ride is just it makes it feel worse that when your opponent like gets the Superior Ride off and they just win the same way, because the restriction only slowed down Dragheart's consistency in getting the Drag Driver. You could still play the deck normally without the main and still get the Superior Ride, or you can play the deck with the main, but you just don't have Dragheart because Drag Driver itself says 2 grade 3s, which if it was two Luards in the soul for the crit, it would have been a lot more restrictive, and it would have just been a lot better rather than just having 2 grade 3s in soul. Yeah. So one more thought before I end this is the fact that I'm like worried about what they're going to be doing for the future sets, because right now we are still on the Aquaforce set, and they revealed they already revealed Shuanui, which the deck is fine. It's not broken or anything. It's a needed buff for Nubatama, but again, they can't be that good because Jamie Okongo exists, and that goes back to poor design. And that's just a poorly designed card, because is this going to be there in a lingering problem? Like, oh yeah, we can't make Nubatama too good or have too much aggro in the turn because Jamie Okongo's a card. They revealed Isabel, which I'm not a great nature main, and a lot of people are just saying it's meh. It's not as strong as it needed to be, and some people think it's okay, but not as strong as it needed to be. And Big Belly was revealed, and Victor was revealed. A lot of people were satisfied with those. They're Excel decks, so I'm not really sure how what they're gonna do with Night Rose and Sharo. They might be able to combat them because Protect has an inherent disadvantage against Excel. It's still possible to win. It's just inherent. I'm not sure what Aquaforce is going to do. We'll just have to see. And then after that, it's the Daigo set and Radiant Lightning and then Bermuda. These are like the last 3 sets, and to me, I don't really like how the idea of multiple people saying Overdress is going to fix it. They're gonna find some way to rebalance standard, and the thing is, it should never got to this point. Like when it was GBT 13 with the Zero Dragon started appearing, it was inherent that they was power creeping really fast, and that was because V Series, we're gonna do a reboot. You already know what happened with that. People either was really upset that their expensive decks was just gonna be thrown out, or they won't be able to play with them. And you see Premium right now is not in a good spot. Some people like Premium, that's fine, but like most of the player base, or even some casuals, don't really like it because it's like if you give them 1 damage, or your opponent 1 damage, you're just gonna get OTK'd. And Vanguard is so uninteractive, you can't really like punish them or counteract whatever stuff that they're doing. Like, yeah, you could damage deny, you can play text and Premium, but like if they're gonna stop your opponent for superior writing, especially with the vanilla engine, no, you can't control their hand as to what cards that they use. And like because people are saying, "Oh, Overdress is gonna fix it," it makes me worried. Are they gonna do another reboot? Are they gonna do a set rotation? I don't really know. Either way, whatever that they do with Overdress, as long as a lot of people don't quit the game, I'm fine with that. But they need to do something with the orders. Like, yeah, Bang Dream had the orders. They called them. It was a cool concept, but only one deck was really that good. But that's not the point. The fact that they did something with those orders, it made it like their main gimmick, is interesting. That's cool. Now, can they print at least orders that do something for other clans, or just super generic that are good for all clans? Like, they have been printing orders that are pretty good for all clans. I mean, that can be used for all clans, but not good ones. Like, the only recent good one was the one from the Luar set. It has many decks can play, and it is a tech option. But what we need is the blitz orders, because let's face it, the quick shield is not going to save your life. It's going to stop a poke from the early game. But we need blitz orders that we could get at specific moments. So maybe we get a blitz order at 4 damage. That when we're hit to 4 damage, not when we're self-damaged to 4 damage. Well, maybe it could work that way if you're playing Angel Fighter, but or Morokumo. But we need orders, blitz orders that do something to your opponent. So maybe if you hit 4 damage, you get a blitz order, and then maybe where your opponent attacks, or during their main phase, you can use the blitz order to shut off one of your opponent's abilities just for one of their units. Probably not the Vanguard, but even though the Vanguard is like the most obvious, but maybe it prevents like a restand. Maybe prevents like, if their power is like 30,000 or more, that unit can't attack or stand or something. Vanguard needs more interactivity, and like the reason why a lot of people or competitive players don't like it's because it's uninteractive. You can't stop your opponent from in standard from doing these things. You can't stop them from pulling off superior ride Luar before. You can't stop them for Skull Dragon. You can't stop them from drawing 8 cards with DI. You can't stop them from using the X with DN. You can't stop them for Vocal. I understand that Bushiroad didn't want interaction, they wanted it to be a casual game, but there are, like, even when Luar was there are casuals that didn't like Luard at all. And even me, like, I wanted to try to play Luard. I tested on CFA, and then while I played the deck for a couple of games in a row, the deck was boring, and it wasn't fun to play. Even just trying to play casually. So just to end things off, a quote from Rant the Joker on Twitter that I believe that we all should hear is the Luar in the main description did his job. The oppressive deck got handled, so the format can open up and Andromedus could be at the forefront. Am I happy? No. The Luar in the main hit is the worst possible functional hit. Don't be happy with this. Stop selling. I'm Zenarion. I'm out.